Well, so there are two factors to investing: risk and return. And return is everybody's favorite part, but risk is actually the more important part to investing. So we're going to focus mostly on risk today, and how it relates. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start with a little PowerPoint, and then we're going to jump into some videos from the Money Guy and Dave Ramsey and stuff.
But all right, so Duncan, we started way back at the beginning and telling us what risk is.
I'm doing that right now.
All right.
So risk is what'll affect the return of an investment, right? It's what can cause it to lose money or gain money going forward, especially in the financial term. Risk can be lots of different things, but in finance, that's what we're talking about. The two basic types of risk are systematic risk and unsystematic. So systematic risk is the market. The market goes up and down. It affects, returns, right? So anything that's affected by the market directly would be a systematic risk. Unsystematic risk would be everything that's unspecified that the market doesn't necessarily directly affect. Okay. And that affects a couple different things. So that could be the type of business you're in, right? So I'll give you a great example. I live in Portland, Oregon, and Nike headquarters is here, and Adidas American headquarters is here. And recently, if you've been watching the news, Adidas, let me hang on a second. Oh. Adidas had this problem with Kanye West, who's their spokesperson. And Kanye West got in trouble for saying a lot of anti-Semitic things repeatedly on different platforms and interviews. Very, very anti-Semitic stuff. So Adidas had to cut him. Now that's going to affect their sales, their stock price, their bottom line, right? But it's not going to affect Nike. So that would be a good example of a business risk, because it's going to affect Adidas, but it's not going to affect Nike, even though they're in pretty much the same business. So that would be a direct business risk. Then there's risks like creditor default risk, which would be your chance of not being able to pay your debts. That could affect individuals or businesses, right? Country risk, which country are you in, right? So if I'm selling thong bikinis, I'd probably do really well in Brazil, but not so well in Saudi Arabia. So that would be a country risk. Foreign exchange risk would be if I'm selling in a different country with a different currency, like if I'm selling in Russia for the ruble right now, the ruble's worth nothing. I'm going to take a bath trying to exchange it for dollars. So that would be a foreign exchange. Interest rates, kind of what's going on now with the Federal Exchange raising interest rates. This directly affects banks, but it affects kind of everything. But it's the rate you can borrow money at or lend money at, or money can be traded at. Political risks, things like laws change. It could affect a business or an individual. Counterparty risk is the idea that people you have contracts with might renege on the contract or not fulfill the contract, essentially. And liquidity risk is basically you can't afford to pay for your needs at the time. So those would be the basic types of risks that you would see in a market. Now, did you have any points on that, or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So those are the basic risks. Some of them are individual, and some of them are just business, but they can all sort of be applied. To give an example, we did actually this one yesterday. I'll give this one real quick, of systematic risk in a market. So I have two couples here, couple one and couple two, and they both invested in the market. So the S&P 500 returns, which measures the market, and they both had $150,000 to invest at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Now, couple one started investing in 2006, which would be year one here. And I took the market returns for each year going forward. But they withdrew $12,000 a year because they needed to supplement income, right? Well, as they went through time, the first early years here, they took a lot of losses. Things didn't go so great. And by the end of their 17 years, they were out of money. They were 12,000 of the whole. Couple two on the other side of that coin, I took the year 2022, this year, and I did it in reverse and worked it back to year 17 is 2006. So same returns, just in the backwards order, right? And couple two also had 150, took out 12, but since they had better earlier years versus the bad later years, they ended up having $144,000 left in their investment, as opposed to couple one, who was end up in the hole.
Okay, so tell us again what the risk part of that is, because we're zooming in on risk.
Right. So the risk part of that is, what is the market doing at the time you invested it? Right. So the markets go up and down, and people will tell you, well, it's got a standard return of 10 or 8 or whatever, however you want to measure it. But the bottom line is it's when you started investing versus when you started pulling out. Right. So if I invest when the market's high and I pull out when it's lower, I've lost money. If I invest when it's lower and I pull out when it's higher, I've made money. It's the old adage, buy low, sell high. Right. So if I start and the market goes down, instantly it takes me longer to make up the money I lost than it does for me to make money and then lose it and make it back. Right. So if I start with $100 and I lose 10%, and then one year, then I'm down to 90, and I gain 10% the next year, I'm only up to 99. I still haven't made back to where I started. So I have to make a higher percentage the following year. So so losing money eats away more, right? And that's a risk factor in systematic risk. And I just did the little graphs here to show you couple one and two. And couple one is the orange line here, and they basically ran out of money early on. As for couple two, saw growth early on, and then when the bad years hit, it didn't really affect them as badly because they were already in good shape. I mean, they still got tagged pretty hard, but they were in a better position when it happened.
And then it's systematic risk because it very simply is what the market is doing.
Right. It's the risk related to investing in the market.